Brandon Laws, an elected Nashua alderman, has been a fan of Sanders for a decade and was among his early local 2020 endorsers back in May. But he told NBC News he is now un-endorsing him to instead throw his support behind Yang, in part because of the latter's idea of a universal basic income. Andrew Yang is talking about things that are existential threats that if we don't start addressing them actively with comprehensive solutions, I think it's going to be too late, he said, adding he would still be elated if Sanders ultimately won. Yang, who supported Sanders himself in 2016, has described the Vermont senator as a hero and a role model. But while the two candidates share the same outsider appeal and some similar policies, Yang has said that his fresh perspective on economic issues makes him a compelling candidate. I think that though we're aligned on some of the same goals, I think I have some more modern approaches that would be more effective at reaching those goals, Yang said after the November debate in Atlanta. Both Yang and Sanders pitch themselves as outsiders with plans for big, systemic change. Sanders has built a base with his Medicare for All and Green New Deal plans. Yang's platform is built around the idea of universal basic income. The similarities don't end there. Both candidates are known for their rabid online fan bases. They're both big basketball fans. The Yang campaign even nabbed the media firm that helped Sanders raise his profile in the last cycle. The fact that it's the team that had worked with Bernie last time certainly made it seem like there was a natural fit, Yang said when the campaign hired Divine Mulvey Longaba, adding he hoped they can approximate that kind of magic with his campaign. I think our experience in the 2015-16 campaign gave us sort of an understanding of the discontent out there among American voters, and certainly inside of the Democratic Party. Working class, middle class voters just think this economy hasn't been working for them and isn't working for them, media consultant Mark Longaba said. But Sanders' campaign manager Faiz Shakir is confident voters will trust Sanders as the candidate who can beat President Donald Trump and make change happen. Andrew Yang is talking about solutions for a working class that is struggling, he said. And the candidate, Sen. Sanders, understands that people are going to be interested in different messages and new approaches to these problems, but we feel comfortable that they'll come home when it comes time to vote. Another staffer echoed Shakir's sentiment. Broadly speaking, we are not concerned, a member of the Sanders campaign told NBC News. We feel really good about the work that we've done with these communities, referring to its organizing outreach to young people and independent voters. Yang's campaign was quick to note that their candidate is not pulling support exclusively from Sanders, as evidenced in his latest swing through the state where he is seeing more Yang-curious voters who are considering several different candidates rather than solely die-hard supporters. The candidate is also taking more risks in booking bigger venues. We certainly from a strategic and messaging standpoint have not set this up as a bipolar competition, Longaba said, noting a new generation overlap with former South Bend, Indiana, Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Big idea crossover with Sen. Elizabeth Warren, an electability over Trump akin to Biden. They're taking advantage of their resources to build beyond their initial niche, Scala said. But I would still argue his first real leverage among the electorate was among the younger voter. Now it's whether he can expand that. Yang has held more than 100 campaign events in New Hampshire since 2019, doubling Sanders' total, and in recent months has expanded his field effort to include 10 offices and 40 staffers across the state, figures rivaling and even surpassing some of the leading candidates. But field organizers have dwindling days to convince New Hampshire voters ahead of the Feb. 11 primary. The most important ones are between the Iowa caucuses and voting day. The media roar in that week between Iowa and New Hampshire is so loud. Despite the fact that he's run a good campaign, it could be easy for him to become a backstory, Scala said. Jan. 15, 200 2007 to 51 for now. Some voters are giving the new guy a chance. In Lennon, 55, voted for Sanders in 2016 but is now sold on Yang after seeing him in her hometown. I just feel like he's very in touch with the state of the country. He understood why Trump won, she said. I feel Sanders is too old, but I think he's an amazing resource. He's that grandpa we could turn to. Her daughter Catriona Lennon, 21, backed Sanders last cycle but is undecided this time around, though she also thinks Sanders is past his prime. It would be beyond incredible to have another person of color in the White House, she said of Yang. Laws, Yang's latest local endorser, is uncertain of his new candidate's chances at the nomination, but hopes Yang gets enough support for his message to gain traction. That's one of the ironies of me switching my support from Bernie to Yang in the primary. Laws said, I think Yang is the 2020 equivalent of what Bernie Sanders was in 2016, in the way that the things people were saying about pie in the sky ideas from Bernie 4 years ago, now that's the standard for most of the people running for the Democratic nomination. Let's block ads. Why?